And so what they want to do, and what authors tell us, is they have this section, Christianity Vindicated by Science. And they tell us that up until the 18th century, apologetics was modeled on philosophy, which was generally deductive in form. Philosophy until that time was a much broader term than it is now. It included the study of the natural world, and it was called natural philosophy, right? And so Isaac Newton didn't see himself as a scientist. He saw himself as a natural philosopher. That's just what they called it then, right? Mm-hmm. However, as disciplines of study became more specialized, the sciences emerged as distinct branches of knowledge, increasingly differentiated from philosophy by their inductive empirical method. And so it was natural then for apologists to begin modeling their apologetic after the increasingly successful disciplines of empirical science. And so that's what they began to do as the age of enlightenment and the scientific, revolution began to take place.
Right. Just follow the science. It won't lead you astray ever.
That's right. Follow the science.
See, look, YouTube, we talked about it, and there you go. Well, the technological revolutions of the 19th and 20th centuries have made the coherence of the Christian worldview with modern science one of the most significant issues in Christian apologetics. It's something that if you're talking with your friend with, that's probably going to be the area that you're going to kind of talk about, the history of something or the compatibility or incompatibility with the science that's known. And so this has come kind of to the forefront of apologetics. Well, widespread disdain for and distrust of abstract reasoning in general and deductive philosophical arguments in particular have brought the classical theist arguments into dispute. In place of these, Christian apologetics have increasingly relied on empirical, scientific arguments for the existence of God and the defense of the biblical worldview.
Well, there was that. All right, and then just before they end the chapter here, there's just two more sections, I believe. They talk about history as the medium of revelation. So they tell us that it is in the area of history where most evidentialists seek primarily to ground their apologetics. So it's a historical approach. The most basic reason evidentialists ground their apologetic in history is because the revelation of God that they're seeking to defend is essentially historical, right? And so history is the medium of revelation. Our knowledge of God then comes from his acts in history. And so history then is, what is used, the area where most evidentialists seek to ground their apologetic.
Right. So God enters into history. He reveals himself either in word or in action. And we're able to look back through the pages of the Bible like we are able to look back at the history of the American people. And where we are at today is governed by who we were at the beginning and throughout in these periods of historical events. And so the Christian also looks back and sees the succession of events up till today and your place in history, and then going forward. Well, the Evidentialist appeal to historical facts should not be construed as naively expecting non-Christians to recognize the significance of the facts without resistance. Evidentialists emphasize that there is a subjective dimension to the interpretation of history, as there always is. Specifically, they point out that persons holding implicitly or explicitly to philosophies of history that are inimical to the Christian worldview will not be open to the historical facts that verify that Christian worldview. They find it necessary then to subject such philosophies of history to critique and to explicate a Christian philosophy of history. However, the conviction that historical facts do carry their interpretations, i.e. the facts in themselves provide adequate criteria for choosing among variant interpretations of them, is essential both to Christian and to general historiography. So, you come up with an idea that two warring armies have come into battle. You're going to get two histories because theoretically there's going to be two areas writing about it, and we usually say, to the winner goes the ability to write history, but that's not always the case. And so, are the East Side the villains, or are they the heroes, or are the West Side the barbarians, or are they the freedom fighters? And so, what do we do when we approach these different areas of critique in history?
Right. And so notice the evidentialist is suggesting that the facts in themselves provide adequate criteria for choosing among variant interpretations of them. So the facts they're claiming speak for themselves, and they give us the criteria in order to help us to choose, which interpretation is the correct interpretation. That's the claim that they're making here, right?
Right, right. Just like the Civil War,
that's right.
We definitely don't have different ways to call the Civil War. The war against states, Lincoln's War, the war of Northern aggression. We definitely do not have those. It's just the facts. That's right.
And they speak, and they give us the criteria. That's what the evidentialist is suggesting.
Exactly.
And so, according to Montgomery, a Christian philosophy of history is needed if history is to be interpreted properly as to its ultimate significance. However, this Christian philosophy of history is not to be used as the basis on which the historical events of the New Testament are defended, because, of course, that would be viciously circular, right? Rather, these principles of historiography are based on the verifiable reality of Jesus' death and resurrection, and provide a guide for interpreting the rest of human history. So notice the verifiability of the reality of Jesus' death and resurrection. That particular historical event provides a guide for interpreting the rest of human history. In addition, they tell us the apologists must employ a Christian philosophy of history as a benchmark against which non-Christian presuppositions about history that distort or reject the gospel events can be exposed.
Right. So, we look at the ideas of the resurrection for the Muslims. And so they have an idea that, Jesus didn't really die on the cross, that he either swooned or was replaced. And so it's up to the Christian to present counterfactuals or interpretation scheme to show those as being wrong critiques of the evidence at hand.